We're about to come and the speakers have already arrived, and I'll give 1 or 2 minutes. I'll take more to brief about what's happening in MMA next few days. There are a couple of people still outside doing networking and refreshments. What's happening? The number of events have already been finalized for the month of Feb and March. And on 21st of Feb, we have tomorrow. That is, we have an event on leadership qualities in Tirukkural. This is the event which we do it in Tamil every month. Tomorrow we have again an outstanding speaker, Mr. Purnalingam, IAS, former Secretary to the Government of India. He is a speaker. To chair the session, we have Dr. Muthuvel, former Registrar of Central Institute of Classical Tamil, Chennai. Then we also have on 22nd of Feb, we have an event on Women on Boards, how to increase the presence online. Actually, this is an online program. This Aarti Madhusudanan, she'll be the speaker. She's joining us from Mumbai. Then we got Maitri Chandrasekhar, Delhi. She's chairing the session. Then we also have on the 24th of Feb, export-import policies, procedures in MSMEs. Then on Saturday 25th, we have MMA Annual Convention 2023, India's Century, how to drive sustainable inclusive growth. This is happening at IIT Research Park Auditorium. And I am very happy to share, we got over 700 nominations already visited for this convention. Please do come if you want to come. Few more seats are still left. We have some outstanding speakers for this session. We have in the inaugural session, we have CEO Nitya Yog is also one of the speakers, Parameshwaran. Then we have Arun is talking from former Planning Commission member. Then we have Agarwal, who is the Managing Director of Aditya Birla Group, is talking. Then in our inaugural session, we also have Prem Chandran, who is a Member of Parliament 5 times from Kollam, Kerala, and again is heading a couple of committees. He is going to be there. So we have got some outstanding top corporate leaders talking to you. So do come and think. Then on 3rd of March, again we have an event on one day in a conference on contemporary trends in international taxes. This we are doing with the International Finance IFA, International Fiscal. I think it's an area, it's an association from Netherlands. This we are jointly, we are partner for this event. Again, it's all about tax implications. You all know the recent budget, the tax amendments have been made, which has some of the investment what you receive being startup, even otherwise, there are a lot of tax implications which you do. So it's a good event to attend. It's a full day seminar. Then we have on 14th March again Tirukkural. Then on the 18th of March we have our MMA Women Managers Convention. Then other one we have on 20th of March, India's Pathway to Success. Winning in the next decade, we have Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, Chairman 5WF, is a former Chairman of Zenza, former founder of Chairman. Then we also have some of the outstanding speakers. Mashelka, is a National Research Professor, is the authority on innovation. He'll be joining us from thing. And we got Professor L.S. Ganesh, is the Vice Chancellor of ICFA Academy. Then Kannan IRS Officer, who is a former Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax, Suresh Raman, head of TCS. This is happening on 20th November. On 23rd, again we have a very, very interesting event, Managing Social Organizations, Lessons from the World's Largest Pilgrimage Center. We have two IIM professors done a research and written a book on this. Social organizations develop a lot of remuneration, a lot of money, and a lot of attraction. How well they are organized. I think the model what we'll be discussing is the Tirupati Temple. Tirumala Tirupati Temple, one of the richest temple in the world. And they are going to tell how the social organizations thrive and if it's managed well, how they really reach the objective. I know sometimes even the state government borrow money from Tirupati Temple to pay their salaries. So we have, again on 24th of March, Read and Grow. A lot of programs have been fixed. I think people are still stepping in, but notwithstanding, today is a very, very interesting event. The subject which is contemporary, and a lot of people discuss interstate migration, demography and economy. And we have an outstanding panelist who will be joining us. Each one of them is specialists in their area. And ladies and gentlemen, put your hat to warmly welcome Dr. Bernard Swami, Senior Fellow, Loyola Institute of Social Science. We have Dr. Lora, Deve, Prasana, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work from Chennai College. We also have Mr. Arun, Viknesh, he is Independent Research, Chennai. May I request the dignitaries to please take your place on the dais, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, very warm round of applause to our panelists for this evening on a very, very interesting subject. Sathiya Moorthy is unable to join because he's not feeling too well and it's better to avoid the crowd, and so we'll miss him. because you all know this program we do it jointly with the Policy Matters, and every month we do this, and a lot of Policy Matters members will be there today, but I think maybe Sathiya Moorthy is not coming, maybe they not come, but maybe they'll join us slowly. And Sathiya Moorthy conveyed sincere apology for not able to join us this evening. The format is as usual. If you have any questions, all the viewers watching this program live, very warm welcome to each one of you. If you have any questions, please share it on the numbers which is flashed on your screen. The distinguished panelists are willing to respond to all your questions, but make sure your questions are related to only to the panelists on relevant to the theme what we are discussing this evening. This is a subject we are given a clean synopsis what it means about, and it's an important subject. We all felt quite a bit. Interstate migration, demography, economy. It has got a lot of implications, and it looks so simple topic, but it's one of the most complex topics, and which has got a serious impact on everybody, the state, the individuals, the corporate worlds, and also individual psychology. And I know personally I've seen how this happened, but on one hand we talk so much about demographic div in which India is number one in the world. We are going to take the world because the whole world is going to depend on us, because the entire production has to come to only India, because they can't sell it in the own place. Either the property is very less, the population is very less, and they won't be able to sell it for a simple reason. The people out there to buy is also very limited, and most of the people are getting aged. So the consumption, they have to come to India. That's the reason India is going to be the place for next few years, where the world will be looking at India in terms of setting up that factories, instead of setting up their industries. In terms of GDP, we'll soon become third fastest growing economy in the world. We are one of the largest fifth in the world in terms of population. Why I'm telling all this? All this has got impact on interstate migration, demography, economy, because how is balancing of all this going to be done? We have very, very expert speaker who will be sharing with us this morning. This evening. Let me introduce the speakers. As I said, the format. After I introduce the speaker, these are the speakers. Dr. Bernard Shah will lead the conversation in the absence of Sathiya Moorthy, and I'm quite sure he would have allotted each one of them the allotted time. They will do the presentation. Thereafter, there will be a conversation between Bernard Shah and other speakers. Then we'll open to audience, and also all the questions which has come to our mobile, and we'll respond to them. If you have any question, you can also scan the code which is put behind your seat. You can scan it and send your questions. It will come to us too. If you don't want to raise and ask your question. Let me have the privilege of introducing our distinguished panelists for this evening. Dr. Bernard Swami is a senior fellow from the Loyola Institute of Social Science. He is also associate professor of history, former head of the Department of History in Loyola College, and he recently concluded his tenure as a dean of the School of Excellence, and is also a senior fellow of LISSTAR, Loyola Institute of Science, Social Science and Training and Research, Loyola College, Chennai. And he was also executive committee member of the Association of British Scholars, and he went to San Remo in Italy in September 2016, selected by the UNHCR for a pilot course on the statelessness in the International Institute of Humanitarian Law, and he has been invited to a number of international organizations to speak on the subject. He is an authority on this subject. Very, very warm welcome to you, Bernard. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. Let me have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Lora Deve Prasana. She is an assistant professor from Department of Social Work, Madras College, with a PhD in quality of life and psychological well-being among the spouse and migrants workers, and specific reference to Kalpakkam, Kanjipuram district, Tamil Nadu. Area of interest, family and child welfare, counseling, corporate social responsibility, and also gender studies. Translated in Tamil, the Manual of Raising Awareness on Elimination of Child Labour for Employers, funded by the International Labour Organization and also Department of Social Work, Madras College. She also contributed content material for the Manuals of Tamil on Legislations for Women, funded by the University Grants Commission and Department of Social Work, Madras College. Very warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Lora. We're all eagerly looking forward to hearing you. Then the youngest and very bright member of the team is Arun. Arun is independent research scholar. He's currently associated with Training Center in Tamil Nadu. He's also interested in policy, politics, and also in child protection. And this is one of the simplest, easiest profile I could read, and that is what is his profile. Lesser the profile, they are always brilliant. More the profile, it's more achievers. So between the brilliant achievers, you're going to listen to the outstanding panelists this evening. We are all eagerly looking forward to hearing you, sir. Over to Dr. Bernard Swami.
Good evening to all of you, and extremely pleased to be with all of you this evening. And a special word of my appreciation and to Group Captain R. Vijay Kumar, who has been kind enough to invite us for this discussion, and Mr. Sathiya Moorthy, who is not here. He is a friend of mine for a very long time, and he was the one who was responsible, who is responsible for putting us in touch with him, and then to organize this meeting. And we have my fellow panelists here. They are my younger colleagues, and all of them are good in the subject. Interstate migration. Dr. Lora is here, and Arun, Viknesh is here. And thank you, friends, for all of you to come for this evening's meeting. Today we are concentrating on interstate migrants. Let me at the outset tell you, sometimes we use the term internal migration and sometimes we say interstate migration. So what I would like to place before you at the beginning itself is this. By internal migration, we mean both interstate migration, namely people coming from other states to Tamil Nadu, and also intrastate migration or inter-district migration. Within the state, people move from district to district. All this constitutes internal migration. So internal migration includes interstate and intrastate, right? So that I thought I will place it before you. Secondly, all of us may be wondering, my presentation would be a general one, a broad one at the national level. I will be speaking, and my colleagues will be speaking more specific, Dr. Lora, on concrete case studies of the migrant workers, and Arun Viknesh will speak to us about children in migration, how the childhood in migration, how the childhood is moving, right? So that he will capture. And I thought I will, start presenting to you with the number. All of us may be wondering, what is the number of interstate migrants? 2017, the Economic Survey of India, when it was presented, Arvind Subramaniam was the economic advisor and he was making a presentation. And in that he mentioned that is one report in which explicitly he devoted time for interstate migration. And in that he mentioned that there are 9 million people who are making travel from one state to another. He said for two things, one for job and another one for education. So for the reasons of job and education, 9 million. And he said in 2016, 5 years ending 2016. So he was making a presentation in 2017, March. So he was talking about the previous 5 years, last 5 years, ending 2016. And he gave this 9 million. So many asked Dr. Arvind Subramaniam, how did you get this number 9 million? Then he said, we are trying to get, numbers of the migrant workers, and one data we depended is on railways. And particularly in the railways, we asked those who traveled in the unreserved compartments from north to south, capturing that. From that, they were able to get this data, and he presented it as 9 million, both migrant workers for work as well as for studies. This is a number he gave. Census also captures migration, interstate migration, particularly 2011 census captured migration, intrastate migration and interstate migration. But only thing, after 2011, we got the census data for various things, but we could not get the number of the migrants. By 2016-17, many were asking, what happened to the migration data? You have not given, you have not divulged. Then the Census Commissioner said that this is one data we are having, but we are providing to the academic institutions. So in that way, academic institutions like International Institute of Population Studies Center for Development Studies, those who are dealing with the demography, they were able to get that number. And 2011 census captured, as I said, census, this census captured migration. And we are supposed to have a, census in 2021, anyway, that is pushed to 2023, we will be having, and that too will capture migration. And the number that they have given in that is 454 million as internal migrants, 37% of the population as migrants. So this is the number the 2011 census has given. And one thing very apparent in the 2011 census on migration is this. We are under the impression that the interstate migration is increasing, and we are not able to gauge or measure or to capture the interstate migration. Within the state, the migration taking place between the districts. But 2011 census said that previously by 1991, it was 55% interstate migration and 33% intrastate migration. But 2011 census, in 20 years, it was ulta, and it is 33% and less than 33% of migration is interstate migration, people moving from one state to another. And 58%, a large chunk, a very big percentage of migration is taking place within the state, inter-district migration. So this is the number we have, and I thought that I will place it before you so that we get a number of how many people are moving within India for work, for education, for many things. They also gave, why people move, and many of them have moved out. For 85% among the 454 million, they said that they are moving out of their state or district for jobs, right? So that also is there. And when it comes to work, what is the type of work they do? All of us, we see them in the construction sites. Yes, construction work. Anyone, anyone would say that, where do you see the interstate migrants? They would say that in construction sites. They are right. But at the same time, more migrant workers are working in the manufacturing sector. I hope as residents of Chennai, years back, about a decade ago, there was a collapse of this twin tower building in Maulivakkam, right? And many migrant workers, they died. And that was the time the Tamil Nadu government decided to take a census, a kind of a number. Let us take a count of how many interstate migrants are working. And that is the time, they did a count, and then they said that there are 10 lakhs of interstate migrants in Tamil Nadu, but more than 50% of them are living in Chennai, in Tiruvallur, and in Kanjipuram. With that, my center, Loyola Institute of Social Science Research, we said that we will go for a research, because that paper, that study conducted by the government, that also said that many of them are in the manufacturing sector. So we went to the manufacturing sector, and we could see number of areas, jobs in which they are working in the three districts, Chennai, Tiruvallur, and Kanjipuram. So they work in construction work and in the manufacturing sector. All of us know that there are in migration, there are push factors and pull factors, and you know very well that in the socio-economic disparity that exists in our country, particularly from the northern side, and due to distress, this migration is also known as forced migration and distress migration, right? People are coming out, due to various reasons, compelling reasons. Harsh Mandar and others, Harsh Mandar says that these are all young people who are coming. 17, 18, 19-year-old ones are coming. You go to any of these sites, you can see them young adults. They are young adults. And Harsh Mandar uses the term young people divorcing their parents. They are divorcing their parents. Why? For various reasons, right? It's women-headed households. Maybe the first, person in the house, first son in the house, and in order to educate the siblings, in order to keep the, economy of the house, moving, one person comes here to work. So there are various reasons for which they come here, but most of this migration, we term it as distress migration and forced migration. And 2015, another important year, because 2011 census, how it captured interstate migration, I mentioned to you. In 2015, the Ministry of Urban Development, that ministry, they said that because the government also launched the Smart Cities Mission. With the Smart Cities Mission and with economic growth, that has been unleashed by the various economic policies, they said that with the interstate migration, we will have a working group set up on interstate migration. So first time, the Union Ministry for Urban Development, they constituted a 18-member working group on migration. Partho Chattopadhyaya, he was with the Center for Policy Studies in Delhi. He was made as a chairman, and 18 other members were made, and this group studied the interstate migration. It's a working group on migration. The working group on migration, they made many recommendations in their studies. One thing they suggested is this: let the migrant workers be enrolled in the social security boards. All of us know that there is a welfare board for every sector. Construction workers have a welfare board. Like that, there are many welfare boards. So one of the recommendations is that. And also they said that let there be, facility for them to call up and then to tell, where they are working and other things. But one of the things the working group strongly advocated is this: we don't have any number of the interstate migrants. Very, very difficult to capture the exact number of interstate migrants. I know Tamil Nadu government has tried many times. Now also they are trying. One of the things that is recommended by the working group is this: self-registration. Everybody has a mobile phone. There are mobile apps. With the mobile apps, let them have a self-registration. If a person through mobile phone, through emails, through WhatsApp, they can have a mobile registration, and in that way, this person will be counted as an interstate migrant in one particular place. So these are some of the, recommendations that they made. Also, this is the first working group which also looked at the portability of social welfare schemes. Migrant workers are coming, which means they are also coming with their abandoning their public distribution system, surrendering their public distribution system in their home state. So which means they should have access to public distribution system in the destination states. Source states they are abandoning. When they come here, they should be able to get the PDS. So portability was announced, and one nation and one ration card, all that was introduced at that time. Based on that was a recommendation of the working group. And food security, even you can detach, the one person will be here, rest of the family would be in the source state. That one person needs a ration here. Wheat or rice he needs here, she needs here. So how to delink this one person from the family card? Those were the challenges, that was faced by the working group, and they have suggested those things to us, those things in the, as a recommendation to the union government. Also, they were talking about the health, how health issues can be included. So various things, they were able to, deliberate and come out with some solutions. But the working group very clearly said that we are not recommending any particular law or laws for the migrant workers. Already there is a Interstate Workmen's Act 1979, and there are many other acts. By that time, the Labor Department has, they have made all the 44 labor laws into 4 codes now. And the working group suggested that let the migrant workers be included in all the 4 codes. Let it be, whether it is employment or welfare or social security, let it be there in everyone. So this is the recommendation. So they did not suggest anything specific as laws for the migrant workers. Let me now, at this point of time, place before you the legal regime. what is the laws that are available to protect the migrant workers? I mentioned to you one, the Interstate Workmen's Act 1979. I met this person who drafted this, and I senior IAS officer from Orissa, because from Orissa people were moving out, and he was one of those as a labor commissioner who captured how people are moving out from one state and going to another state, and what are all the things that are needed. So the 1979 Interstate Workmen's Act, you would find that that travel should be taken up. It should be compensated by the contractor, and their allowance should be given, and the worker should not be living in the place of work, and there must be a diary register maintained by both the contractor and by the worker. All those provisions are in the Interstate Workmen's Act. But the Interstate Workmen's Act applies only when people move in groups more than 5. But most of the contractors are bringing the migrant workers in 2 and 3. And the number of migrant workers who are coming to the state, for example, Kerala has given the number 3.5 million. A small state like Kerala has 3.5 million. And they also said that migrant worker, the term is a derogatory term. If they are a migrant worker, then I am a migrant professor, somebody else is a migrant doctor, somebody is a migrant engineer, somebody is everybody is a migrant. So they said that for the state, the first state to use the term guest worker is Kerala. And then Kerala said that they are replacement workers. Sir, our workers have gone to Gulf. In Kerala, it is Gulf migration, destination Gulf. As they are moving to the Gulf, they are replacement workers. They are guest workers and replacement workers. We have to take care of them. I am coming little later to the best states, receiving state and best sending state. I thought that I'll also share with you that. So in that way, legal regime is very weak. 1979 Act is no more, because the number of workers who are coming to from the northern states to the southern states is huge. So 1979 it was possible for the contractors to recruit them and bring them to another state. Today it is an exodus. It is mass migration. Villages are getting vacated and they come in large numbers. Sainath writes about this. P. Sainath, right? How some of the villages are completely empty. And he talks about the voting rights, how they would vote. All that he raises as a basic question. And that's the legal regime. Now I mentioned to you that there are 4 codes. And in one of the codes, which is known as occupational health and security, the migrant workers are included in the third code, that is occupational health and security, social security. Unfortunately, the code deals with, it has expanded the number from 5 to 10. So migrant workers will never be captured hereafter, because the code the threshold has been expanded to 10. The 1979 Act said 5 and more, but it said 10. And the Economic Survey of India 2016 says that 70% of the population, working class population, they are all working in the unorganized sector, number 1. Number 2, in the places where they are less than 6 people. So they are not going to be covered by this code at all. And secondly, this code also is not covering the intrastate migration, intrastate migrants. 265 million workers will be simply removed from these codes, 4 codes, labor codes, which is supposed to protect them, will reject them. 268 million will not get any chance of getting benefits from the 4 codes. With this, I will move to my last part. Have I taken more time or? Oh, okay, another 2-3 minutes, I will give it to them, yes. The last one, I thought that in the context of the migration that is taking place, which would you consider, at least to my, I would consider the best sending state and the receiving state. The best sending state, in my opinion, is Odisha. Odisha has everything in place. All departments, line departments, they are, all the line departments, health, education, home, police, SCPCR, right? Protection of the children. All of them are working together in addressing the migration. In the villages, they have a register who is moving out and where he goes. All details. And when they move out, as a family, 0 to 1 years, they can take the children with them. And 3 to 6, they have established seasonal hostels in Kalahandi, Nuvapada, Bolangir, and other places. They have seasonal hostels. Children can be there. Children pursue their education while their families come here. Seasonal migration. In the month of December, when the summer, when the winter, with the onset of winter, with the rainy season coming to an end, the bricklands open. With the bricklands, to work in the bricklands, they come in large number. Families, they come in large number. And then they work till May, June. When the monsoon begins, they go back. So children they have to continue their education. Seasonal hostels. Very good database. Particularly children on the move, to capture children on the move. How many children are studying? All of them are covered in the Sarva Siksha Abhiyan. All children. So one of the best states, and Tirupur, all of us are now talking about Tirupur, so many migrant workers. And Odisha government has a center started in Tirupur to look after the rights of the people. If their wages are withheld, if they are beaten up, for health reasons they need rest in a place, they have a shelter. All that the Odisha government has started. Like that, Bihar government has started in Delhi. UP has in Delhi. Right? So those are the states which are doing well as sending states. Receiving states, undoubtedly, in my opinion, it is Kerala. When the COVID started, there were more than 15,000 community kitchens were set up. The Kudumbashri and many other programs in Kerala were able to cater to the needs of the migrant workers. The migrant worker can go to any community kitchen and take his food. Best, I think, response was coming from Kerala. They have given shelter. They have built shelters for the migrant workers. And in terms of wages, when you compare throughout India where the migrant workers are getting best wages, good wages, it is in Kerala they are getting. It is in Kerala they are getting. Kerala schools admit children automatically. Kerala also in demography, their population is declining. 6 lakhs children per year. It is now only 3 lakhs. And the other children in the schools are coming. The migrant children are joining the schools. Another reason why I said Odisha is a good model. Odisha is sending educational volunteers to the destination states, to Tamil Nadu. In Tiruvallur district, we have government schools where the Odisha volunteers are coming to teach the Odisha children in Odia. Migrant, the volunteers are coming. The books are coming from Madhya Pradesh for the children who are studying in Hindi. And Kerala, it is not a problem for them to study in Hindi. So the schools are not closed in Kerala because the schools are kept alive because of the migrant children are going to school. These are some of the best things that are happening. One of the good, as a receiving state, one good example may be Kerala. Maybe I will stop here and I will give my concluding remarks after listening to the panel members, also from your questions. Thank you. Now I invite Dr. Lora from Stella College. She works in the Department of Social Work, and her PhD is on migration. And she also done a lot of field studies with regard to international migration. Now her interest and research is on internal migration. She will tell you more about, the case studies of migrant families in Tamil Nadu. Dr. Lora. Just to take a minute to welcome Ambassador Fabian. He has come for a meeting and he's here. He was India's ambassador to Kuwait and many other countries, and Dr. Surya Narayanan, who was the director of the South and Southeast Asian Studies, Madras University. Welcome both of them. Thank you.
Good evening. Well, I deem it a pleasure to be here to present my talk on lived experiences of women from the families of interstate migrants. Case studies presentation, in fact. So, I introduce myself as Professor Lora from Stella Maris, but a little more introduction about my interest in migration. I owe my thanks to Dr. Sami because, of course, he was introduced to me by my teacher, mentor, and subsequently who became a colleague, Dr. Sandra. And I must state this incident with you. It was in the year 2010 when Dr. Sandra and I were invited to Vijayawada for a talk. Having come from a social work background, it was more to do with, as you're aware, field-based presentations, action researches, etc. So while we were in Vijayawada, and after the presentation, we were to board a train. Fortunately, I must say, the train got delayed. So we got stuck in the station. Believe me, there was about 50 to 60 people of all ages, men, women, children, carrying their household articles and materials, and they were crossing us. And I looked at them, but I don't remember now whether anything struck me, But it was Dr. Sandra who said, "What do you capture from this?" I said, "Ma'am, people walking probably leave. They're going to board the train and they're leaving. They are migrants," she said. That was the seed sown in me about migrants. I had about a good 1.5 hours to 2 hours to sit there and talk to her. And we're colleagues, so we meet every day. But that 2 hours became very precious to me because she said, "Why not you think of doing a PhD in migration?" And I said, "Yes, but I don't know anything." "That is why you should do a research, PhD. "Where do I do?" Dr. Bernard. He has an NGO, Migrant Initiatives. First make a visit, study, and then do. Thanks. Thank you, ma'am. Now she is principal of Jesus Mary College, Delhi. So she's not here in Chennai. Anyway, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. Without whom I don't think I would have completed. But the second bit comes again. When I went to make a study, field study in Kalpakkam, both of us, she's my guide. I had another guide from Bharatiyar, but Sandra ma'am was my guide. We found that, yes, there are plenty of at least statistics or studies or at least talking happening about people who are migrating, the migrants. Now, what happens to these women who are left behind? Because Kalpakkam is dealing with international migration. It is definitely not a well-fledged, well-paid job that they go for. Sir will talk about the 3 Ds. The first time when I met, he said, "Lora, I remembered 3 Ds. I said, "Yes, sir, thank you." So, dirty jobs, very dirty jobs. So, it's not an easy one for them to migrate, but even then we had women left behind, the family left behind, and there were very, very few studies happening on the women and the children who were left behind. That gave me the gap to do my PhD, and that's how my PhD was born. Now, when Sir invited me and he said, Lora, why not you come and speak about interstate migration? Sir, that's a new subject to me. I know migration, but interstate. But I know my students, having come from a social work background, my students are placed all over. They go for block placement in concurrent field works within Chennai and block placement to different districts in Tamil Nadu and outside Tamil Nadu also. So, 1 second of hesitation, and I think Dr. Bernard captured that and said, no, you're doing. And I said, okay. And no turning back after that. And I must thank MMA for giving us, and also Mr. Sathiya Moorthy, who gave us enough time, and I did a field study on it. And today, my presentation on lived experiences of women from the families of interstate migrants, that's my topic, because I have an MSW in family and child welfare, so I'm definitely concerned about the family and the women and the children. Yes. So it's going to be more of a qualitative presentation to you. Next, oh, I need to change. Okay, I would like to start with this quote from one of my clients, if I may say, or the person whom I met, the woman. We are invisible to all. Please remember this until I complete my presentation. I came here at the age of 13, 14. My parents just boarded a train, not knowing the destination it was taking us to. Now I am 35, I still don't know where I belong to. I remembered my journey with Dr. Sandra and Vijayabada. I saw young adolescent girls, boys, even women carrying everything on their head, lap, on their everything, whatever they had. My daughter's security is most important. Girls should get married in a community early for their safety and security. It is not a very new statement, I would say, even for, not just for migrants, for all of us, but it carries a very, very important, I would say it has a lot of weightage. I'll show you in a minute, my case studies. My children must have at least one meal a day. Say no, so no choice. Migration had never been a choice. I am also a human being, but I am not noticed. These were the statements made by some of my clients whom I met. Now, certain questions which crossed my head were, when did they start? When? At what age? And I'm talking about, yes, family, more importantly, the women and the children, women particularly. When did they start to move from the place of native? Who made the decision? Was it the family, the environment? What was, we know, we have done many studies, there are push factors, but if I have to go, isn't it important that I should be consulted? So I was interested if women and girls were consulted, if they can move along with the family or what they want to do. Were they consulted? What is their role in the family? Okay, what was their role? How were they considered? What was their position in the family? Women and economic significance. I don't have to talk about this at all, but we know the percentage of significance given in terms of in the economic arena. But when it comes to women and migration, as Sir said, migration itself is considered to be a very low status, in the sense they're very poor, isn't it? Now, imagine women in migration. 4 times discrimination. And what is the pattern of health-seeking behavior? These were some of the concerns which I had when I went for my field visit, along with my students. This is a family tree which I wanted to explain to you. Ms. Ganga, name change. Now, many times when we talk about migrants, the first set of people who would come into our mind would be construction workers or migrants in the manufacturing industries. But there are other types of migrants as well. There are doll makers, bommakar. Tamil cholna. I'm sure all of us can understand Tamil, at least most of us. Bommakarar. Not bomma seirangalla. Bommakarar. I didn't know how to translate in English. So I just made it as doll makers. Have you traveled to, if there are people from North Chennai or from Thiruvannamalai, don't miss to notice those houses. I would say houses because that's where they stay. Houses made of cloth and plastic covers. Don't miss. I had traveled many times via Ennore. I really thought those are some places where they stuff or keep some construction materials. There were about 35 to 40 families living. I in fact took pictures and then decided I will not publish because it's a privacy. Unless and until we do a serious study about it. Now today I've come here to give a presentation. So this lady, 35-year-old, the first statement where I made, I didn't know where I was going. My parents just took me. We just boarded a train. I asked, just boarded a train? She said, yes. Amaka, just boarded a train. And she talks very good Tamil. Because she had come here at the age of 15. Now she's 35. She talks very good Tamil. She's from Rajasthan. The families are from Rajasthan. So, is it a pointer? Yeah. Oh my, I changed it. Sorry. Okay. So, parents had brought them and they travel in groups. They travel as families. So, the squares are the male and the circles are females. Alright? So, you see, from family A, that is Ganga. She married, from family B, the Ganga married the male from family B. I need a pointer. Can somebody help me out? Pointer. Pointer. The laser. All right. So this is my client, if I'm audible. This is my client and married from this family where they all travel together and she has about 4 children and his sister has married her brother. Incidentally, the her brother had died about a year ago due to COVID. Now I asked, how do you manage? He said, we need more hands, isn't it? We are doll makers. We need more hands, more number of people, more work. And they have settled down here. She said, how many times have you traveled this way? How many people, how many of them travel? Nobody notices. Nobody notices. But we are here. And we make dolls. They make dolls and they sell it. They make beautiful dolls. They make beautiful dolls. In fact, I had an opportunity to take my daughter also to that place. I wanted her to see, come see. They make beautiful dolls and they make it with plaster of Paris. I would have been there. I visited about 4 or 5 times and I spent about 2.5 to 3 hours with them. And I was filled, I should say, I was almost filled with the plaster of Paris. I was only waiting. I was standing outside their house and I was talking, but I was dusted with plaster of Paris. And the children and the women and the men who came to talk to us were totally dusted with plaster of Paris. And I asked her, what happens to your health? How does it matter? Should it matter? When I don't even have a place to stay, when I don't even have food to eat, health is kadesi. That's last I would even think of. And I said, why these houses? Are you okay? How is it when raining and sunny time? What happens when it floods? Chennai is not new to floods. There are houses close by, so we stay there. Women take bath in open and they have escorts who stand there. And this is not just happening for the last 1 month. That's how they're living for the last 10 years, believe me. So that's Ganga. Miss Siddhamma, name change, Boom Boom Matukar. Again, I went and browsed and I did not get a word in English. I don't know, I may be too young in that, sir might know. Boom Boom Matukar. She's 45 years old. And they have traveled, they have come from Andhra Pradesh. They settled down here, they talk Telugu. And their houses were pathetic than the doll makers. When asked why, they said, we don't live here. The minute our work is done, we pack up things and move out. Why? Because that's it, over, seasonal. Doll makers also seasonal. Boom Boom Matukar is also seasonal. You might be wondering why I have marked 2 black dots over there. Those 2 children, Siddhama's children, have married people outside her community and no contacts, totally no contacts. She doesn't even know where they live now. Very strong about that group community. And one of them, that was one kind of experience, one sort of experience which I had when I was talking. One man, he was actually from one of the families, he came and said, leave, ponga. He was so rude and he said, Kalambil. I said, why? He said, every time you all come, collect material, collect data. 2 months ago, a group came, made us sit here, there, sit in groups, took pictures, and then what? And why are you coming again? The kind of distress I could feel. And Siddhama was the one who said, you don't know because it has not pinched you. Very true. It has not pinched you. You are not a migrant. You have not gone through a distress, so you won't know. I'm cutting all my case studies shorter because I know they are looking at clock. So, next. Kajal Taylor from a textile industry in Erode. So I was talking about the manufacturing industry. Why did I mention about her? They have come here. This is one generation. They have come here in the year 2010. And she said, yes, my husband works. He works 12 hours a day. She's left behind her sons and daughters there, though she has 5. And she's here with her husband. She works as a tailor, but never her economic contribution is never significant at all. Because it is only the husband who's taken into consideration. Of course, both, they work 12 to 15 hours a day, no leave, nothing, and no ration card. Many of them, they may or may not have Aadhaar card, no ration card for sure. They buy provisions from the other neighborhood sells provisions. What they buy from the ration, they sell it to them. So they buy from them and they have their food. Right? Rekha, name change, from Kalikuta, nomadic street performer. This community lives in Urapakam. Vandalur, if you pass Urapakam, you will find again temporary tents made of cloth and plastic covers or I don't know the material at all. I should find some good term for that. So they live there. Kalikuttadis are the nomadic street performers. So they work in the nearby, they go to the nearby temple and they perform street, not street theatre, they perform the folk art, etc. And these people are from Bellary, Karnataka. When do you think they all have come here? 20 years ago. And they come here as families. Excepting for the textile industry, 10 years ago. They come here, they migrated as families. I saw we could understand a pattern. In most of the cases whom I met, it was not just one case study. I presented only one case study, a minimum of 10 case studies I did. I found this pattern of 3 generations. Most of them had been here for 3 generations. So I was talking about intra-migration. Yes, today they will be in, or tomorrow they will be in Tiruvannamalai. Kalikuttadis today they will be in Urapakam, but they had been here for some time. And a part of them would travel to Tiruvannamalai. When there are festivals, they move out to Tiruvannamalai, Sirgali, depending on, because it is seasonal. And women, as usual, were never consulted for when they were migrating. And more children means more hands because it involved, they needed more hands for their economic, for money. Temporary shelters, very poor shelters, it cannot withstand anything, be it rain or sun or even breeze for that matter, storm, nothing. And Tamil Nadu is prone to all disasters. Only some have Aadhaar card, no ration card or no identity cards, and they have migrated as families. And in fact, I found that there is either equal or more participation in work by the women, because the women work from morning till evening. Bommaikar, for example, they make the selling is done by the men and the children. But women are not, their work is never seen. It's not visible at all. No political participation, I don't have to elaborate on that. And there's a lot of threat of safety, security in the place of stay. Anytime they can be pulled out. First of all, why they have hawkers all over, and also politically they can be moved out. And when I asked the women, they said, we have only 3 goals in our life. Meals, sapadu, marriage, children. I think marriage and children is wiped out. 3 vela sapadu, 3 meals only is their actual goal. And if need be, they go to government hospitals, and I found poverty being normalized. For them, having the second meal or the third meal seemed to be luxury. And always facing a stigma as migrants, because they're always seen as outsiders, though they're here for the last 20 years. They're seen as outsiders. And the first targets for the community people, the police, the nearby authorities. Fear of any time being removed, because encroachment. Anytime they can be wiped out of that particular place. And on all the 3, particularly not in the textile, but in all the 3 case studies, I found weather is directly connected to their work to their job, to the work, be it Kalekutadis or doll makers or Boomu Matakar. I just want to add one more thing with Boomu Matakar. They said, ma'am, we walk. Akka naanga nadande poidum. How do you nadande? They have the bulls are donated by the temple. They said, and they had the woman and the children. They walk from 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning till 10, rest, have food, 4 o'clock start walking. As they're going, they also ask for alms and they go. And wherever they find place, they pitch their tent there and they stay. And this is what repeatedly came from them. You don't belong here, hence you will not understand. Every time I ask something, say, you don't belong here. It doesn't pinch you at all, so you won't understand. Will you allow such a situation for your family? In different words maybe, but these were echoing from all the 40, I almost did about 35 to 40 case studies, kept echoing. Do we have a permanent place in this world? Do we even belong here is what one person said. Do we belong here? And one lady said, having a good night's sleep is a luxury. Night, I don't sleep because I have children, I have to take care of them. Supposing somebody just comes in and takes away my child, and therefore we are invisible. Now, yes, we need data, no doubt. As Sir said, data, we need a thorough survey. We need to collect data on them. Particularly when we say migrants, please don't miss out the women and children. And we need specific interventions. You know, migrants, yes, common, general, but can we look at specific interventions, need-based interventions? And it's always like when we do social work, we say, go from micro to macro. But I thought in this particular interstate migration, we have to go from macro to micro. All of us need to be there. We cannot put, responsibility, only government cannot take responsibility. Only NGOs cannot take responsibility. Stakeholders, all of us, it has to go from macro to micro. And therefore, I think for people who have gathered here, it's a good start. At least we're starting to talk about it openly. And I think we have a very important social responsibility towards these migrants and families. This is again from, I would like to close my presentation with this, from one of my cases, one of my clients. I'm running towards an unknown destination. I'm sad by the truth that you're passing by but not noticing us. Noticing me is what she said. I am invisible to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lora. With that, we are moving to the third panelist, Mr. Arun Viknesh, on children.
Well, good evening to one and all. Myself Arun Viknesh, and I did my Masters in Sociology from Loyola College, post which I joined as an ethnographic researcher in a think tank in Bangalore. Then I joined IPAC, then currently associated with a training center in Chennai. So let's start. Why children on the move? Well, let's be some interactive. Why children on the move? Okay. Why do we use the terminology on the move? Yeah, exactly. So the migrant children, as you see, means children who are migrating from one place to another. So research organization, think tanks and policy advocacy groups have started using this terminology, children on the move, in the reports to denote children who are struck massively in the area of migration. So just giving a definition of who is a migrant children in India. It refers to children who have migrated from their place of origin to another place, often due to economic or social reasons, or affected by family members, parents, or migration. Yes. So typically there are three classifications of child migration. One is migrating with parents, second is migrating alone, and third is left behind. So you can just, understand what the terminology exactly means. Migrating with parents is just simple. You migrate, my papa is moving somewhere and my parents are moving somewhere, I migrate with them. That's migrating with parents. What is migrating alone? Either by marriage, by education, or for any other purpose, they migrate alone, they come into the arena of migrating alone. And children who are left behind in their native state, they come into the category of left behind migrant children. I'll just swiftly pass through because we have a shorter time left. Yes. So the issue of migration in India has gained significant attention due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which left many of them stranded and struggling for survival. You could have all seen that there are chapatis lying in the railway, along the railway platform or railway lines during the COVID pandemic when the people started walking from the southern states towards the north. Yes. So what is the available data on migration? 1 out of every 5 migrant is a child. So I'm quoting here Census 2011. Census 2011, it considers children 0 to 19, not 0 to 18. So 1 out of every 5 child is a migrant. 9.3 crore migrant crores in India, there are 9.3 crore migrant children, with girls constituting more than half, which is 51% of the total children migration. 56% of the child migrant move to rural location and 44% to the urban. Here there is an interesting point. Boys migrating to urban locations are higher than girls, and girls migrating to rural locations are higher than boys. It's around 46% of the total boys, and girls migration 58.7% of the total girls. So, percentage of child migrants across last three census, 1991, 2001 and 2011. So, this blue line indicates 0 to 14 age group, red line indicates 15 to 19 age group, yellow line indicates 0 to 19 age group. One important thing to note here is during the age 0 to 14, every year the male child migrate more than a female child in absolute number. There might be a slight difference in, then you cannot notice a difference in percentage, but the absolute number there is a slight change. There may be, now the red line indicates 15 to 19 age group conveys an important message. Female migration is, in this age group, is far more higher than male migration. The overall percentage, 0 to 19, it says that female migration is higher than male migration. So one thing we have to remember here is child migration doesn't always mean that child is moving along with the parents. The child can move for marriage, the child can move for education purpose as well. So the top states with interstate migrant children, coming to census 2011, the 0 to 14 age group, they go to Goa, Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. 15 to 19 age group, they go to Goa, Kerala, Arunachal Pradesh, Maharashtra and again Andhra Pradesh. So there's an interesting thing, like Goa stands top in the census 2001 and census 2011, also in two age groups. Statistics says that around 18.5% of the Goa population are migrants. In fact, during the 2017 assembly elections, some candidates even floated their election manifesto in Marathi and Kannada to the migrant voters. Goa gets a large chunk of migrants from a neighbor state, which is Karnataka and Maharashtra. Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, as Dr. Bernard Sami rightly said, migrants, they attract migrants for the better social security, social harmony, better infrastructure and better pay facilities. Better I here mean that these states are better than the other. Maharashtra, historically, the state has a big chunk of migrants due to its contribution to the industrial development. The Census Data and National Sample Survey Organization reports enumerates the core reasons for the child migration. One is migrating with parents, second is educational reasons, third is marriage, fourth is socio-political reasons, and fifth is natural disaster. So analyzing the Census 2011 and NSSO data, we can see that the primary reason for migration, child migration, is moving with household after birth. 50.7% of the migrant children, and the age group is 0 to 19. And the second analysis from the Census 2011 says that more than 3 out of 10 migrant girls of age group 15 to 19 stated marriage as a key reason for migration. And coming to the NSSO 64th round data, nearly 17% of the children migrated for reasons associated with education, which is 0 to 18 years. So NSSO data considers children from 0 to 18, census 0 to 19. So coming to the problems, it's an important part of the discussion. We can now see that the problems in child migration in India. There are 5 major problems which I am going to talk about. One is education problem, exploitation, health, gender-based violence, and trafficking risk. Education problem. There is an interesting report titled "A Study on Access to Education by Children of Migrant Workers" by Kailas Satyarthi Children Foundation. And Kailas Satyarthi is a Nobel Peace Laureate who won it in the year 2014. So he says that in this report, it says that children accompanying parents to the destination are more likely to discontinue their education, which is about 55% of children who are accompanying their parents. They do not continue their education, they just drop out. And 80% of the children of seasonal migrants do not access education, and 90% of the seasonal migrants do not avail any ICDS services, Integrated Child Development Services. It's a study by Aided Action and the Bernard Van Leet Foundation. Secondly, exploitation. Global Education Monitoring Report 2019 revealed by UNESCO, roughly around 40% of the seasonal migrants who worked had experienced abuse and exploitation. And migrant children get drawn into labor from the early age of 6 to 7 years old and are usually full-fledged laborers by the age 11 to 12. So there are circumstances that the child migrating the family, high probability that the child will be entering child labor in India. So that's a report from Distress Seasonal Migration and its impact on children education report 2008. And thirdly, health. Child migrants are often denied access to healthcare services, putting them at risk of illness and injuries. Young migrant children, especially 0 to 5 years, are less likely to be stunted, underweight, and less likely to suffer from diarrhea compared to non-migrant children, according to NFHS 2015 to 2016 data. Fourthly, gender-based violence. So there is another interesting report titled Distress Seasonal Migration and its Impact on Children Education report 2008. It says that girls who migrate are particularly vulnerable to gender-based violence, including sexual exploitation and forced marriage. Women and adolescent girls are also frequently exposed to sexual abuse especially from contractors and truck drivers. Coming to the fifth major problem, trafficking risk. What needs to be emphasized is that poor migrant children, whether accompanied by parents, relatives, or known persons, or on their own, were all of risk of being trafficked. So the vulnerability framework, study report in the N Children Foundation says that how beautifully they have linked the parents' poor economic status to poor socio-economic status of children. Like how they say life is a cycle. வாழ்க்கை ஒரு வட்டண்டா, நீ மேலே போனால் கீழே வர, கீழே போனால் மேலே வர மாதிரி. பேரண்ட்ஸ் புவர் சோஷியல் எக்கனாமிக் ஸ்டேட்டஸ், அவங்க என்ன பண்ணுறாங்க, either they migrate or migrate to the parent or leave their children behind. So which leads to deprivation of education, exposure, unhygienic and hazardous living conditions, socio-cultural barriers leading to maladjustment, limited freedom. Leaving behind deprivation from both educational, parental love and affection. Idella saying what it happens is put children to risk of various types of exploitation. All these come together and it becomes issues like lack of access to education, school dropout, child labor, trafficking, malnutrition, poor health, exposure to physical, mental and sexual abuse, and finally it leads to poor socio-economic status of children. So, coming to the major policies and programs, there are 5 major policies. I'll just talk briefly about it. National Policy for Education for Children 2013, Right to Education 2009, ICDS 2009, Juvenile Justice Act 2015, and Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. So, National Policy for Education 2013 talks about addressing education accessibility barriers and protection of exploitation of all migrant children in India. And the Right to Education 2009 provides guidelines to not discriminate any migrant children and have flexible admission policies. And it also mandates that you need to provide additional support for children who missed out formal education. And another important clause in RT Act, it says that it doesn't mandate transfer certificate for children, which migrant children will largely benefit. And Juvenile Justice Act, this act categorizes children into 2 categories. One is children in conflict law and another is children in need of care and protection. The guideline says that migrant children in the street situation can also be considered as children in need of care and protection. Finally, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, it ensures provision of elementary education to migrant children through seasonal hostels, residential camps in villages during migration periods, special residential and non-residential schools for out-of-school children, dropout or migrant children, and provision of free midday meal schemes. So, what are the current challenges ahead in the front when trying to understand the child migration in India? There are only limited data available on migrants or migrant children in India, which makes it difficult to analyze, categorize, plan a program, or even take into policy discussions. And secondly, volume of migration is higher, and it will become more than, it will be more than the accounted numbers in the census data or NSSO data. States and CSOs could able to cater only to a small set of population. Currently, the receiving states are facing big challenge to include migrant children in education because states' medium of education is different, and the states are also revisiting the ways in which migrant children can also be included. So, Dr. Bernard Sami explained about the Odisha model of how they included SSA and other line departments for making the migrant children accessible to education. So, I would like to talk about sugarcane schools of Maharashtra. Every year, during the sugarcane crops harvesting season in Maharashtra, lot of laborers enter western Maharashtra for temporary work and dwell in the makeshift premises of sugar factory. The children who migrate along with parents and end up in bad living conditions. The state, the organizations and the CSO started a school called Sagar Shala to educate these children during this season. Otherwise, they would become cheap labor along with their parents. There is a 35-minute film called Sagar Shala also. And lastly, there are less budget allocations for migrant children compared to the children admitted to the Kendra Vidyalaya schools. You all know that Kendra Vidyalaya schools, they admit children from defense bureaucrats and all these sections of people who are migrating across states, taking up a central government job. KVs have about 14 lakh students. The center prepares a budget and allocates for children who are less than 20 lakhs only. Whereas migrant children population is around 6.5 crores and still there is no budget allocated for the central government. Concluding, despite the magnitude of the problem, the needs and the interests of migrant children are largely absent from mainstream debates on child protection, child labor and child migration. Thank you.
Take some questions now, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's a fascinating presentation. We got another 10 minutes. We'll take few questions. Over 600 people are watching online. I got a lot of questions online. We'll try and place it as many questions as possible. Please be brief and introduce yourself. Over to you. Anybody? Michaels.
Actually, it was fabulous. It's an eye-opener. And this is the first of its kind in MMA. Yeah, public issues being taken up so seriously. And thank you, good captain. The most important thing is there are a lot of migrant workers are there, even in Chennai. But they are really afraid of living in all the places, not only in Chennai, because they are being pulled down by rowdies and also by police in the night. Any case, they are being bombarded. They are being taken to the police station and they are being troubled. How to address it? Because you have given all the data of everything.
Sir, question, sir, please.
How you are addressing that? How it's going to be addressed? The solution part of it.
Anybody, you can divert.
You take all questions and then you will respond.
You would like to do that? Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, there.
Hi, my name is Parvati Benu. I had a question specifically to Arun. So, regarding a specific data point that you mentioned about how Arunachal Pradesh receives a whole lot of 15 to 19-year-olds. So, if you could explain the reason behind that, because that was quite fascinating for me.
Yes, please.
Well, I am Ramesh from MMA. Well, I have a question with regard to the kind of migration that has happened during the pandemic. And that would have been, those data points would have been captured by the powers that be when it was widely publicized and stuff like that. So can you give us some number which could make us go home a little comfortable on this issue?
Okay, good. Quickly, sir, because we have no time. Last question from the audience. Then we'll go to the online questions. Then you can respond to as many questions as possible.
My name is Sairam. Just I don't know. Suddenly these topics around all the places, migrant worker. Just I want to know where the Tamil population working people were there. Suddenly the topic of migration is coming to Tamil Nadu everywhere. Where the Tamil people were working, just I don't know. Thank you.
That the data will say. Yeah, okay. Yes, I'll also tell you what questions come on online. Yes, please give to that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Can I make a couple of comments in the form of questions? The first one is that the loss of manpower which Kerala suffered as a result of migration to the Gulf countries has been made up by large-scale internal migration, especially from the northeast. So the migration in some ways is a good thing that has happened. Now, if you look at Chennai city, you find in large number of girls from the northeastern states coming to Chennai and various other places. Since you are familiar with the Chennai situation I mentioned. Now, in my visits to the northeastern states fairly often, I always raise the question with parents, why do you allow your children to migrate? Two answers come. One, there are no employment opportunities. The second, that if they remain unemployed here, they will be sucked into militant movement, trafficking and all those things. So we prefer to send them here. And here in my discussion with the employers, maybe in shops where they do work, there are positive comments about it. They need clean, well-dressed. And what is more, they pick up Tamil in a big way. They live together. And what is the most interesting side is that if you go to the first week of the month to the State Bank of India, the large number of them came there and sent back money to their homes, which I think is a boon as far as northeastern states are concerned. About sexual violence, I have not been able to get the proper answer from them. They said the employer ensures that we are dropped back home, and they live together in a single room and cook their food and all those things. Perhaps if I were a woman and the other question, then the answer might have been very different. So the interstate migration is provided as a constitutional right. And in the present situation, it is acting as a boon for those states from which the people come and others. And in states like Kerala, the beneficial part, the media takes a lot of interest in them, and that has compelled the government also to step into the scene and provide for it. But as far as Tamil Nadu and Mandara are concerned, the media doesn't take much interest, and therefore I think we should act as a think tank and do far more for these unfortunate children of Mother India.
Yeah. So we got a couple of questions. You would like me to wait, or shall I tell? You can take it together. No more questions. I'll quickly tell you because online questions are there because they'll get disappointed if I don't tell them. Next time nobody sends questions. He says the first question is, historically migrant workers invariably settle down in the old states for generations. In the modern terms, guest worker, is it appropriate to call them guest workers? This is the question one from Rangat Sami from Pondicherry. There's another question is, what is the contribution of migrant workers to the state GDP, say in the state of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, which we are not really brought it out in our presentations. Third is, are there any studies or reports or projections on the impact of migrant population on Tamil Nadu demography, say 10 to 20 years from now? This is all the thing which will seriously impact. This is a question from Mr. Raghuraman from Nagpur. Then there is a question from Bangalore, again Srimati, he says, which are the states that have the law to protect the migrant workers from exploitation? How sincere is the enforcement? Then two more last questions which you can handle them, which has come again from thing. So what is the state of reverse migration and its impact on the states and reason for the same and whether you should encourage them? Then the last one, the suffering of migrant workers are terrible and heartbreaking. What is the solution? Can the NGO, CSR could work step forward, or how sincere the state should be to take care of the people who contribute so much to the development of the state? Summarize most of them combined.
Yeah, sure. Briefly to respond to some of the questions raised here and put forth by Sir. We conducted a study in 2015, Tamil Nadu Migration Survey. And that is the first kind of survey that was undertaken in Tamil Nadu, because Kerala had done 8 rounds of Kerala Migration Survey. They have exactly the number of how many are moving out of Kerala, which district, Malappuram, which taluk, Tirur taluk, like that. They have a very clear number. So they were able to plan out also well for the migrants. And very well, Kerala has a ministry called NARCA, Non-Resident Keralite Affairs. It is not only to look after the welfare of the migrants outside Kerala, but also those who are going from Kerala to other states. They also played a major role during the COVID. To cut the story short, first time when we were able to do this study, Tamil Nadu Migration Survey, we were able to capture the immigrants. How many are going from Tamil Nadu to other countries, foreign countries to work? That number we said 2.2 million. This is what media is quoting today, that study. And we also have done, in that study, we also captured how many Tamils are moving out of Tamil Nadu to work in other states. Today we are talking about interstate migrants who are coming to Tamil Nadu. How many are going out? That number is 1.3 million. So in 2015, we gave this number 3.5 million as NRT, non-resident Tamils number 3.5. 2.2 immigrants and 1.2, those who are moving out of Tamil Nadu to work in other states. So this also has to be taken into consideration because the Tamil Nadu is a sending state and a receiving state. And if you read the Kerala migration research, you will find lot of Tamils are in Kerala. They were the first to go and also continue to stay and prosper and then, take a lot of money. All that are there. And during the pandemic time, how many have returned? Good study done by this IIM professor, what's his name, Aylan? Chinmay Tumbe. And I would request some of you to read this book, his book, India Moving, a History of Migration. Penguin has published his book. And he is the one who said that Chinmay worked with us in many, he was with TIS Mumbai, TIS Hyderabad, and then IIM Bangalore. Now he is with IIM Ahmedabad, and his whole concentration is on migration. And it is he who said that before the 2020 COVID lockdown, Basant Panjami, for that 5 million reached. And after that, he has also calculated the number of those who reached the different states in north from south has been captured through the Sharmik trains and other things. Kerala also has given the number of Vande Bharat flight that brought Indians from different parts of India to Tamil Nadu. Kerala, they have exact number. Tamil Nadu, we have numbers. Like that, every state also has numbers. So that way, that data is available and definitely one can share that data. It is in the public domain only. Chinmay Tumbe will be a good source for you. And another thing which I thought I will place before you is solution to migration. Migration is happening, and particularly the book on migration will tell you how the whole history of India starts with migration. I don't want to go into that, but I would like to place before you here today a kind of a threat is being created in some states that more migrants are coming. Your work is simple economic theory that operates today or everywhere in the world. Supply and demand. That's all. When there is a demand, there is a supply. There is a demand more here, so supply. People are coming here to work. As Kerala says, they are replacement workers. They are not taking the work of anybody, whose work, denying anybody's work. So that one has to keep in mind. And also one has to, as Dr. Surya Narayanan correctly said, Indian Constitution guarantees the right of movement. Right to move and right to reside and settle is a basic fundamental right under the Constitution. This is the reason why in Kerala at one point of time they said that we should ask the migrant workers to register and give them ID cards. There was a hue and cry in Kerala. They said that why they should be asked to, should be given another ID card. You have multiple ID cards in this country, Aadhaar, ration, voters ID, income tax, all that, PAN card, all that you have. So in Kerala, the voice was higher, and then they said that they should never be put under surveillance. They are like any other citizen of they are a citizen of this country. As a citizen, people from Northeast or anywhere can move anywhere in India to work and to settle. I think this right has to be kept in mind when we talk about the migration. I think rest of the questions they will be able to respond. Yeah. But finally, I might not come back again. So concluding, to sum up some of the questions also, I remember the UN had a meeting called High Level Dialogue on Migration. They had a very big meeting, receiving countries, sending countries, all of them. And finally, the Secretary General at that time, Kofi Annan, he concluded the whole high level dialogue on migration with migration is a triple win. It is a triple win. What is triple win? In the case of our discussion today, the sending states are winning. How? Their workers are coming here, earning, sending the money back home, remittance. With the remittance, schools are coming up, shops are coming up, economy gets picked up, and the people are able to live better than the earlier, situation. Remittance economy, most of the Bihar economy is a remittance economy, and many other states, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, all of them. The money that the migrant sends, send back. So the migrant, the state that is sending is winning. The state receiving, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they are winning. How? They are the builders and beautifiers of the city. They are the ones who are moving the economy. They are the ones who are making the economy to prosper. We need workers. Where do they get the workers? The industry, where do they get? During the pandemic time, how the construction work suffered. Why? Migrant workers were not coming. So the receiving state is also winning. Finally, the migrant worker is winning. The worker is able to earn more money, send the money back home. The human development indicators are rising individually for the migrant worker, for the sending states and the receiving states. Please keep in mind, migration is a triple win. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think big round of warm applause to our distinguished panelists for opening the mind of each one of us. Great insight. We do a lot of work with the CSR with number of poor children, studying in different schools, government-aided schools. What we do number of programs for the entrepreneurial development program, teach almost 40 to 50 skills for each children, so that when they have to leave the school for because the average income of the parents whom we teach is the annual income is less than 50,000 rupees. So we teach them a lot of skill and they learn a lot of things, including beautician course, tally, and also a lot of other skills to make products. So what we do, those products which are made by the children, that's what we're going to present to the distinguished panelists as a memento, which they will remember, because they're the people who deal with so many people who are doing suffering. But we also make sure that the children are really well looked after, learn a skill which will make them stand good in the society. If they, for unfortunate reason, they have to leave the studies. May I request we step forward, do us the honor of accepting the memento. This is all made by children. You can see in the picture. What the children make. Right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All the questions raised really, I think we'll go with feeling that yes, we need attention in these areas. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll meet again tomorrow, another event on Tirukkural, the management lessons, and we keep you busy every evening. I'm quite sure intellectually it'll be enriching for each one of you to come and spend some time at MMA. Thank you. Bye-bye. All the viewers watching the program live. Till we meet again. Bye-bye and good night.